Hello there, I'm Vini, and today I'll show you how I created this main menu for my game. So, as I said in the last video, this week I worked on creating the main menu and pause menu for my game. And I honestly thought that this would be a very boring job because creating a main menu doesn't sound very fun as creating mechanics or designing characters. But actually, there are many ways to make a menu fun and interactive. And even though I think that my first menu ended up simple for my standards, I think I managed to make a good job, and I also think that it was very fun to make everything interactable. The first thing I did was simply creating a functional menu with a play, options, and exit buttons. And this is what I did here. I managed to make the play button functional, as you can see, and the exit button works as well, but I have a different idea for the options button, so I'll be implementing that later. Now I have a working menu. Great! But I need to make it look good, so I thought about creating a custom art for this menu, but I really don't want to waste too much time with this. Don't get me wrong, I'm really trying to make this game very polished and with a lot of personality, but let's not forget that this is a learning project. I don't even have chosen a name for the game yet. So I started thinking about what to name the game and what to do in this menu screen. And then I remembered about this, my YouTube channel. I decided to create this channel as a way to document my progress as a game developer, and this game represents the beginning of my journey as a game dev, just like I named this video series. You know, like this video intro. I created this intro all by myself. All this pixel art landscape, logo, and even the music was all made by me, and I think it represents a lot of what I'm doing in this game. So, since I already have all the images I used in this intro, I decided to use them in my game as well, making my game officially represent the beginning of my game dev journey. The first thing I did was simply adding the background of the intro into my main menu. I decided to use the sunny version instead of the sunset version, because I think it matches better with the vibe and the colors of the game. And now I need to put a logo in here. For the logo, I didn't want to simply call the game Game Dev Journey, so I added just another word and made it Game Dev Journey Begins, with this new updated logo for the game. And this is how it looks in the main menu. Now the only thing remaining to make this screen looks better is to make some custom buttons, and this is what I've made. And I also added some animations to the buttons to make them more dynamic. Now, you guys do remember that I said that I have a different idea for the options menu, right? So this is what I think I'm doing. I want to have a screen that slides in front of the main menu, containing the setting options and also containing a helping guide for the movement of the player character. I mean, the NPCs will also guide the player to learn the moves that they can do in the game, but I think that adding this helping guide will be a nice detail that can also help the player without needing to talk to any NPC. So I opened Sprite and started creating this option screen, shape it like a box or something, and I designed this screen the same way I did the UI and the dialog boxes, so the size of the game remains consistent. Then I started to draw the movement guide to look like a rough sketch of the main character and what buttons to press. It It was very difficult to replicate the style from the Sunnyside World asset pack, but I didn't try to make it perfect either. As long as it resembles like the main character, it's good to me. Just remembering that despite making these custom assets for the game, all the characters, animations and tile map assets are from this free asset pack that is available on itch.io. You just need to search for Sunnyside World in itch.io and you find it. One thing that I didn't mention about this game yet is that it will be available in two different languages, in English and in Brazilian Portuguese. And because of that, I made two custom buttons with their respective country flags, so the player will be able to choose what language to play. After the option screens art was finished, I just had to add it to the engine and this is how it looks. I also made a slider for the game audio volume and put some animations to the buttons. And now I only need to make the screen slide in front of the main menu after clicking on the options button. And after figuring that out, this is how it looks. What do you think? Now that I have this main menu ready, I decided to start working on the pause menu in this game. The initial idea was to add the options button on the pause menu as well, but I gave up on this idea. The thing is that the language change setting is quite complicated. If I give the power to the player so they can change the language of the game in the middle of a dialogue, for example, it's very obvious that this would result in a bug on the language system. So I decided to just put a return to main menu button instead. This will make the player need to go back to the main menu to change the settings, but it's a safer method. And also, there's just two different settings to change, so it's not like the player will need to change every time or right in the middle of the game. So I ended up with just three buttons on the pause menu. I made a resume, return to main menu and a exit game button. And this is what it looks like. But you can see in the background that the game isn't paused yet. So I just had to pause the time of the game and the button's animation doesn't work anymore. Not only that, but you can see that the player also shows the first frame of animation when you try to use the tool, even when the game is paused. This looked like a big deal, but it was quite simple. For the player, I just needed to check if the game was paused before beginning any animation. And for the button animations, I didn't even have to mess with the code. All I had to do was changing the update mode on the buttons animator for normal to unscaled time, and it worked! The final thing that I made for the pause menu was adding a very quick animation so that the screen would go darker more smoothly when hitting pause. And this is how it looks. Now, the last thing that I did this week was adding a tiny adjustment on the game's UI. There was a comment in the last video talking about how the pixel resolution for the number icons doesn't match with the tool's UI. And this is a great point, but honestly, a lot of stuff in this game doesn't follow a correct pixel resolution, so it's not pixel perfect. This is actually a very important thing when you're working on a pixel art game. But a lot of things in this game was already made without this in mind. So I decided not to correct everything that had the wrong pixel resolution, because this would take forever. But said that, I couldn't unsee how different the resolution on these numbers was, so I remade it, so it could blend better with the UI. If you put a very critical eye in these new icons, you can still see that it does not follow the exact pixel resolution. But I think it already looks good enough, just don't look on the different resolutions on the two icons, okay? Another thing that was also suggested in the comments was to change the pitch for each NPC dialogue sound effect, so it would appear that every NPC have its own unique voice. And it was never my idea to make these sound effects be the voice of the characters. I saw them more like a sound effect for the letters. And the game where I got these sound effects, that anyone guessed it in the comments yet by the way, probably had the same idea. But then I thought, why not? After all, this is my game, and I do what I want with it. But after trying to implement this, I gave up. The thing is, these sound effects are being executed by a dialogue control function that I created, and the communication that this function have with the current NPC that is speaking is very limited. So basically, if I want to make every NPC have a different pitch, I would have to make the dialogue control function all from zero. Or make some really nasty code to try to make that work, and I don't think this is worth it, so I will not be doing that. I just want to move over from this game so I can start another project, sorry about that. But I'll definitely have this in mind for my future games, because this really was a good idea. I really do care to make every character look and sound unique, but I guess I'll have to pass for this game. So this is the end of this video. I really wanted to have this game finished by now, but there's still some final touches that I still have to make on this game. And I don't know if you can notice, but the volume and language settings aren't working yet. I think that making the volume settings work will be simple, but I know that making the language change option will be hard. And I had a very busy week, so I couldn't finish in time. But now we are finally at the final step for finishing my first game. So stay tuned, because next week I'll be releasing this game on my itch.io account, so you guys will be able to play it. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end. Leave a comment on what are you thinking about the game so far, and subscribe to continue this journey with me. Farewell and see you next time!